Recovery and regeneration. Those two words seem to not really exist in many high-level athletes, and I probably am going to butcher that, and probably a lot of people are going to be like, that's actually incorrect, and a lot of individuals do a lot of recovery and regeneration. But what I'm talking about is really focusing on how to recover, right? And that's not just taking a day off and sitting on the couch and not doing anything. I'm talking about intentional behaviors that you can apply to a recovery day that will allow for your parasympathetic state to actually turn on and actually do what it's meant to do. Again, rest and recover. Now, when we talk about a regeneration type day or a regeneration type session, now that session is still focused around the principles and methods of strength conditioning, but we go ahead and look at them from a perspective of lower intensity and lower volume. And that at the end of the session, we want the individual to feel better than what they did when they came in to the training session with us. And that's something that I've taken from Joel Jamieson. And if you haven't heard of him before, check him out over at 8 Weeks Out. He also talks a lot about HRV, resting heart rate, and how to track and collect that kind of information to allow for you to manage and implement different types of recovery and regeneration type training sessions. So what does a recovery training session look like, or a recovery day look like? Now, a recovery day, most of the time, I like to go ahead and implement don't go to the gym, don't think about your sport, don't think about what you usually do on a daily basis. Go and think outside the box, look at doing things fun. Maybe that's the day you sleep a little bit longer. Maybe that's the day you eat a little bit more calories. Maybe that's the day you go out and take photography, or you go shoot photography, I'm sorry, not take it. You go out and write. You do things that are outside the realm of your normal daily task that you would usually do when you're training really hard or you're trying to meet certain types of goals. Now, when it comes to a regeneration style training session, we go ahead and look at it from a perspective that, hey, I want them to come in and move. I want you to go ahead and get that blood flow going. I want the heart rate to come up a little bit. But there's certain parameters that I'm gonna go ahead and put on that training session to allow for me to go ahead and keep it from getting out of control. There's still a structure to it. There's still a method to the madness. But again, you're not really causing any more stress. You're actually trying to relieve the stress from that. So if you watch the training load video that I just did, I talked about collecting, your total training load units. And what you can do from there is, if you accumulate a certain number of training units or training load units throughout the week, and let's say you train 5 days out of the week and you're hitting a 500 training load every single day, and you don't do no recovery sessions, you end up seeing a 25,000 points of accumulation of stress on the system as a whole. And if you don't do nothing to it, then what happens? You start to see sickness, you start to see chronic overload, and you start to see chronic pain happen, and the list can go on. So what these recovery sessions do and these regeneration sessions do, or recovery days do, however you want to term it, it helps relieve that training load units or load throughout the week. So when you implement a recovery day or you implement a regeneration day, that will ultimately lower that total load over the week. So instead of hitting 25,000 total units of stress from training throughout that 5 days, we end up seeing that you were able to minimize it down to maybe 18,000 units over the 5 days, because you implemented 2 types of training sessions in there that focus on regeneration and recovery over time.